Hi, today we're with John Atwood in the Fairhope Library as part of the Veterans Oral History Project. My name is Liz Conway, and I will be helping John with his remembrances. Would you introduce yourself, please?
John F. Atwood.
And you're from?
Matoka, West Virginia. I now live in Fairhope, Alabama.
Which branch of service did you join, and why?
The Air Force. I thought I'd learn more in the Air Force. I would not go to Vietnam. I wouldn't be shot, probably, in the Air Force.
Why did you choose going into the service?
I did not have money to go to college. I was very young, immature. I thought the Air Force would be a good place to mature and possibly go to college.
Had you ever flown in an airplane before joining the Air Force?
No.
When you first joined the service, your trip to basic training and your basic training experience.
The airlines, I didn't get to fly to go to San Antonio, Texas. The airlines were on strike, so I had to take a train. But it was a wild one. I think it took 2 days or 2.5 days on the train to get to San Antonio. And it was hot. It was the middle of the summer, and it was hot.
What happened when you got there?
It was a shock.
How so?
You realized you were in the military, and there were people bossing you around, and you had to follow orders. That was the biggest shock. You had to be in bed at a certain time, up at a certain time. You had to exercise at a certain time. You had to go to meals at a certain time. That was the big change.
How did you relate to that?
Well, somehow I was able to skip. Apparently my teeth had not been taken care of. I had 10,000 dental appointments. So I would conveniently have a dental appointment if something bad was going on in basic training and I wanted to avoid it.
What did your family think of you joining the service?
Well, I tried to join at 17. My mother would not sign for me. I don't know why. And no one else had any comments about it. I don't.
Okay, you completed basic training, then what happened?
I got my first airplane ride. I flew in a military aircraft from San Antonio, from Lackland, to Chanute Air Force Base in Illinois.
Okay, was that for more training? Or?
Yes, then I had about a year's training at Chanute.
What type of training?
Let's see, this time it was flight controls on fighter aircraft.
And what did you do? Did you build these, repair these?
I repaired or made sure they were in perfect working condition.
How was your relationship with your coworkers?
In flight controls, it was unusual. We still had people from the Second World War as the older bosses, which shocked me. And then most of my co-workers were college graduates that had joined the Air Force to avoid going in the Army and going to Vietnam. So I was in there with some really sharp people, really, really sharp.
After the training, where did you go from Chanute?
I went to Little Rock Air Force Base.
And tell me about those experiences.
Well, let's see, I worked on the B-58 bomber. To me, I was shocked at how much responsibility a 19-year-old was given. That was a big thing, that they would trust me to do some of those things.
Like what?
Do repairs to a airplane loaded with nuclear weapons that was trying to take off and had a problem.
And did you feel safe working on an airplane with nuclear weapons?
You didn't think about that because you'd been to basic training, and if they did their job well, you just did it without thinking about it.
I believe I've heard stories of being guarded while working.
Well, the planes had the nuclear bombs on them. You had armed guards with machine guns and dogs, and they had to follow you everywhere you went and with guns pointed at you.
How did it feel to be working in that condition?
You did your job and you didn't think about it.
After that experience in Little Rock, were you assigned?
I got out of the military.
Okay.
And then I was out of for 2 years. And then I re-entered in Detroit, Michigan in 1972.
Why did you re-enter?
I was poor, had a son that had medical problems. I'd gone to college some, couldn't afford to go anymore. So, to take care of my son and to finish college.
And the second time you were in, what were your assignments?
Let's see, first was training in Biloxi, Mississippi. I was in Biloxi for about a year. This was for radar, ground radar, mobile radar. So Biloxi for about a year for training, and then I got my assignment to Las Vegas. Went to Las Vegas, spent 3 years in Las Vegas, was prepared to get out. They offered me a bonus if I would stay in 2 more years and go to the Azores. So I went to the Azores for 2 years.
For folks that aren't familiar, where are the Azores?
Off the coast of Portugal.
And what was that like, operating in a foreign country?
You didn't think much about the foreign country. You're on an island, 3 miles wide, 8 miles long, for 2 years. Most of the people there spoke English very, very well. There are things you missed, such as daily newspaper was always a day late. Television was delayed. News was everything was delayed.
So you had no direct radio broadcasts or any?
No.
And obviously this was before internet and communications like that.
Yeah.
How was it having your family on such a confined space with you?
Sometimes it was difficult. The weather was strange. That was a big, especially the monsoon season. Then there were hurricanes. Some interesting times there, though. You'd have crews landing, airplanes landing from all over the world. And sometimes you'd have situations on the runway. You might have 2 countries that were at war with each other, and it just so happened that their planes landed there at the same time. They both needed to be refueled, or there was a storm and they had to land. It was interesting.
Tense?
Sometimes, and then also, if you went to the NCO club, sometimes the crews would be in the club and it would get tense.
Were you able to continue your studies while you were in service the second time?
Yes, I did. The Air Force did a really good job. In the States, if you're signed up in the program, you get to go to the local colleges. And sometimes the local colleges will have a few classes on the base itself. In the Azores, they had visiting professors from certain schools, such as the University of Maryland. That professor would come and stay there for a whole year and do the classes. And so I took classes. I got my undergraduate degree while I was in the Azores.
And after the Azores, where did your service take you?
I got out.
Any regrets of getting out early?
None.
Okay. What would you say to someone considering joining one of the service branches?
If you're young, immature, don't know what you want to do, it can be good. It's sort of like a stern parent that will make sure that you behave and you have free health care. You don't make a lot of money, but enough. You have housing and health care. You can go to school if you want to, basically free. You can meet a lot of interesting people. You can travel. It's not bad at all. And in some people, you should get out because it's just not for you. And
Did you feel it was not for you?
it had served its purpose for me. It took 10 years, but
Did you learn any permanent life lessons from your experiences?
some of them I didn't learn. The teamwork, I still don't do well. I never did. I think I was good at avoiding some of the things.
Did you make any lasting relationships from your time?
No, I never have in my whole life, even there. Yes, you develop friends, but I don't maintain friends when you're separated for years and years and years. Just, you don't have anything in common anymore. And it gets boring as hell if that's all you got to talk about is a little bit of time you're in the military together.
Any post-service benefits that you've received?
Yes. The GI Bill, that paid for my graduate school, or a large part of it. Medical care at the VA. I must say, that is great. That's another advantage, being, spend 4 years in the military and you pretty much got free health care the rest of your life.
Were you ever stationed in a war zone?
In a war zone? No.
I believe you came close once?
Yes, I did. Near the end of the Vietnam War. Had an assignment to report to Ubon Air Force Base in Thailand. And from there they'd tell me where I was going. Fortunately, we pulled out before I found out where in the hell I was going.
Where was that?
I would have been on the border of Cambodia directing forward airstrikes into Cambodia.
That doesn't sound like a fun time.
No, not for a coward.
Thank you very much for your time and for your service.
I would like to say, though, that my father was in the Second World War, served in both the Army and the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was a young boy, I don't know what his bad experience was in the military. He was on a ship that was sunk, I know that. But we'd go to the drive-in movies, and he would get drunk. And he'd be telling me, John, whatever you do, never join the military. Run away to Canada.
Now, did you also have an uncle who was in the service?
Yeah, that's the only other one. No, I had two uncles that were in the military. One served in Germany after the Second World War. And then I had a younger uncle who went in the military and went AWOL. And got a dishonorable discharge. That's about it.
Okay. Well, apparently your service has served you well, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.